What is cycle syncing? If you haven't heard of it, this video is for you. You're going to learn what it is and how to get started doing it. I'm Nicole Belisle, and I'm a global serial entrepreneur who's worked with startups who have been funded on Shark Tank all the way up to Fortune 100 CEOs. I'm an executive educator at Harvard University, and I now help leaders grow their companies and their teams without burning out. I really believe there's a more regenerative, cyclical way of doing business, and we are at a time where the world desperately needs more feminine leadership skill sets. Cycle syncing is just one way that I help my clients do that. And when it comes to cycle syncing in particular, I really believe that every person on this earth who has a menstrual cycle has the right to this information because it is so empowering and it's not what we learned in sex ed. So if you find this video to be valuable and it resonates, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. You can also find me over on TikTok and Instagram sharing this type of content and more. But for the purposes of this video, back to cycle syncing. What is cycle syncing? Simply put, it's the practice of syncing or harmonizing your diet, exercise, and routine to the 4 distinct phases of your menstrual cycle. Just like nature has 4 seasons and the lunar cycle has 4 phases, your menstrual cycle also has 4 distinct phases. When we start to honor our body's natural rhythms and rebalance our hormones, we see all sorts of benefits and optimization in our health. In as little as 1 to 6 months of cycle syncing, many women see a reduction in menstrual pain, PMS, mood swings, cramps, many of these symptoms that we have been told we just have to live with. It's just part of having a period. It's not actually true. These are often symptoms of a deeper hormonal imbalance, which we can rebalance through the practice of cycle syncing and using food as medicine to support healthy hormone levels. Cycle syncing can also help us to get better sleep, have less anxiety and depression, experience more mental clarity, and an overall increase in our vitality or energy. Not to mention, it gives us an amazing excuse to develop a much deeper and loving relationship with our bodies, our intuition, food, exercise, and work. Every single cycle, your hormones fluctuate significantly. These fluctuations in hormones impact some really critical functions in your body: your immune system, metabolism, appetite, libido, desire to be social, your communication faculties. Hormones really dictate everything about how we show up in life and how optimized our health actually is. Let's get into the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle. As I mentioned, these 4 phases directly mimic the 4 seasons that we see in nature. This makes cycle syncing incredibly intuitive, and the more you do it, the more natural you'll realize it is, and your brain will start to make these affiliations with the different phases because intuitively and on an embodied level, you already have an understanding of the 4 seasons that we see in nature. Our 4 inner seasons are simply a microcosm or a fractal pattern of the 4 seasons that we see out in nature. Let's start with the menstrual phase first, because this is often what we think of when we think of the menstrual cycle. The menstrual phase is the 5 to 7 days that we are actually bleeding. This is the equivalent of our winter season. During this time, our immune system is lower, but our metabolism is faster and we need more calories. Depending on your body size, you might need up to 400 calories more per day during this phase because your body is working so hard to shed that uterine lining. Because our immune system is naturally weaker, this is the phase where all of our hormones are at their lowest point. So our immune system is a bit down. We can account for this and support our body by the foods we eat and the activities that we participate in. Just think about it. A cold winter day, you're snuggled up in a blanket. What foods might you crave? Think warming foods like soups that are full of micronutrients. Think about things that you would eat that are easy to digest and metabolize and that are going to get you all of those nutrients to support your immune system. So say you don't get sick during the winter. Super intuitive, right? And as you imagine movement or exercise during winter, if you live in a geographic place that has a harsh winter, you'll be familiar with the fact that the body doesn't always want to move as much as it does in the summer. It might even feel a little heavier. And guess what? your uterus increases up to 15% in size during your menstrual phase. This is one reason why we might feel kind of bleh, kind of heavy, bloated. Certainly that's its own separate issue, but we might feel a little bit bigger in our lower abdomen, and it's because we are, and we shouldn't be ashamed of this. High intensity workouts during this time can actually pull some of the muscles in and around our uterus. Again, your body is already working so hard during this time. Your cortisol levels are naturally up. And if you hit the body with really high intensity workouts, you may feel your energy get completely drained out of you because you don't have much to begin with. That's because the menstrual phase is naturally a time to rest, to go inward, to not be as social, and to connect with our intuition because our intuitive abilities are heightened during our bleed. Think about the lunar cycle. The menstrual phase is also the equivalent of the new moon phase, which is a time for letting go of all that no longer serves us, clearing ourselves out, shedding those old beliefs, those old selves, those stagnant emotions. We are shedding all of that along with our uterine lining, and we are making more space for life to happen in the next cycle. Again, this is a time to go inward and reflect on what did or didn't work in the cycle that you just lived. What do you want to keep? What do you want to let go of? What emotions might you need to feel? And what intuitive messages are available to you? Because again, the veil is a little thinner during this time. We're deeply connected and grounded. We're in that yummy embodied wisdom. Your consciousness seems to sit a little bit lower in the body. Maybe you don't feel as mentally clear. Words don't come as easy. That's because you are uber connected to the nonverbal and the non-physical planes of life. You're connected to nature and to your emotional intelligence. Rather than beat yourself up over this and try to chug coffee so that you can push through and be as productive as you were 2 weeks ago in your cycle, rather than forcing yourself to hit the gym just as hard because you believe if you're not consistent, you're a failure, what if you just let yourself rest? If we don't do this, we risk not hearing our own intuition. And I want to acknowledge how difficult rest is. We're not taught how to rest. We're taught that rest is the equivalent of being lazy, that being unproductive is to be a non-valuable member of society. Many of us are running around outsourcing our self-worth to our productivity or our jobs. Many of us are getting our validation from external sources and feedback loops from other people or our paychecks, etc., etc. So as you hold space for yourself in this winter season, allow yourself to feel all that is there. This is an incredible time to cultivate a deeper sense of self-love and reverence for your body and your wisdom. After your menstrual phase comes your follicular phase, aka your springtime. Your follicular phase is your most creative, playful time. Think about the energy that spring brings into your life. There's fresh green leaves on the trees, so much possibility. It's a time to plant seeds, similar to the waxing phase of the lunar cycle. And on a physiological level, as your estrogen and testosterone start to rise again, you're going to see a slight increase in your desire to be social. Your libido may also become a bit more activated. Both your metabolism and your appetite are going to dip a bit, but your immune system is going to begin to slowly ramp up as you near ovulation, really supporting that increased social energy and the desire to be around other people. The follicular phase is a great time to do fun, playful movement and exercise, such as dance or trying something new, maybe checking out that new Zumba class or that new Pilates class that you've been wanting to do. It's a great time to learn new things as well as you begin to gain your mental clarity back and you feel this increase in creativity, this desire to plant new seeds and to grow. When it comes to food in your follicular phase, it's all about cultivating that soil or gut health. Think probiotic rich foods like fermented foods, kimchi, that sort of thing. And think fresh plant-based foods, some of those those early greens that you see pop up in the spring. Think about what foods actually grow in your area in spring, and these are typically going to be the ones you're going to want to go for. The goal here is to really support healthy estrogen levels as you near ovulation. And again, we want to really support that gut microbiome, which supports so many other faculties in the body, like our mental clarity, our ability to make clear decisions, and our ability to have stable moods. So we're tending that inner soil in our gut. We are having fun through playful and creative movement practices. With that comes an increased desire or ability naturally to do a bit more cardio as well. And this is going to help stabilize your weight because your metabolism has gone down a bit or starts to go down a bit in this phase. When it comes to work routines and projects, your follicular phase is an amazing time to start new projects. Again, you're planting those seeds, you're starting those conversations, you're beginning outreach to new people in your network. You're trying new things, experimenting, prototyping. The follicular phase is all about new beginnings. Next, we have the ovulatory phase, where your estrogen, testosterone, LH, and FSH all peak. The highest that they'll be in your cycle at the same time happens when you ovulate. Your ovulatory phase is the equivalent of your summer season. Think about what you eat in summer. A lot of salads, fruit, smoothies, raw foods, things that you could grab straight from the garden and munch on. You'll naturally have less of an appetite, so grab those light and bright foods to support that natural decrease in appetite. As your estrogen levels peak, your body temperature is also going to go up. If you're naturally tracking your cycle and you're tracking your basal body temperature, then you already know that your body temperature increases when you ovulate. So when it comes to food, help offset this and support your body through more cooling foods, such as salads or colder dishes. This is the opposite of what we saw in the menstrual phase, where you're wanting really hearty, warming foods full of micronutrients, like soups, for example, because your body is running a bit cold. You want to keep it warm during your menstrual phase. This is the opposite. Your ovulatory phase is the opposite of your menstrual phase. It is the full moon equivalent, if we're talking about a lunar cycle metaphor here. Eating cooling raw foods are also going to help you do something else really critical here. They're going to help your body metabolize excess estrogen, which is key for reducing, if not completely eliminating, your menstrual symptoms that you might experience in the lead up to your next menstrual phase. In particular, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower help to flush excess estrogen. There are other foods that do this, and I do have a guide that is available that has grocery lists for each phase, as well as a printable food chart that you can put on your fridge or inside a pantry if that's something that would be helpful to you. I'll link to that below so that you can grab that guide. When it comes to exercise in your ovulatory phase, you're gonna have the most energy out of any other phase for high intensity interval training, really peaking your cardio that you're getting. Use all of that extra energy and the peak in your immune system to really go hard during this phase if working out is a goal of yours or if losing weight is a goal of yours. Workouts are going to feel easier, but you're going to also get better results during this phase because of how your metabolism and appetite are all playing together. Your hormones are really supporting you during this phase to get a great workout in for great results with less effort. At least that's how it will feel. When it comes to socializing, your communication abilities are going to be really high during this time as well. With your peaked hormones, you're literally going to appear like you're glowing. Your body is designed to attract a mate during this time. So if you want to get ahead in your career or you're a business owner, think about how to leverage this. This is a great time to get in front of a camera, to make the pitch to an investor, to close the deal with that customer that you've been wanting to land a deal with. It's a great time to hold a board meeting or to get on a stage, to record batch content. And in your personal life, it's a great time to tend all of those relationships that you enjoy most. be it friendships, colleagues, or romantic partnerships. And your libido is naturally going to be up as well, so be sure to practice safe sex unless you are trying to get pregnant. Overall, when you're in your ovulatory phase, this is the time to really hit down the throttle and go for it on all of those seeds that you planted in your follicular phase. Go for it. You're going to have the energy and the confidence to take risks and to put yourself out there. So this is the best time in your cycle to actually do that. Next, we go into the luteal phase. This is the equivalent of our fall season, and it's the longest phase out of any in the cycle. This is our get shit done phase, where we are naturally more productive, have an increase in mental focus and attention to detail. This is a time where you get to close all of the loops on the projects that you began in your follicular, went full steam ahead on in your ovulatory, and now it's time to get organized and complete those projects. Because the luteal phase is the longest phase, I like to think of it in two parts. Typically, your luteal phase, if you're working off of a 28 to a 32 day cycle, let's say, which is sort of the average for women, you're going to be looking at about a 2-week period where you're in your luteal phase or your productivity phase. In the first half, you do start to see a slight downward trend in your energy. Your metabolism picks up, but so does your appetite. Your immune system starts to go down a little bit, but you're still coasting from that glowing ovulatory energy. So this is a time when you're getting shit done to do the hardest things first. Push through the productivity in the first half of your luteal phase more so than the second half, because as your hormones drop and you coast back into your menstrual phase, your immune system gets lower. That appetite again is increasing. You have a higher caloric intake need for your body, and you're going to start to naturally have less energy. In the second half of your luteal phase, you're still closing out projects and tying up loose ends, but it's kind of just putting that final little bow on whatever project it is, so that when you begin bleeding, you can actually lean into the rest and the integration and the reflection that your body, mind, and soul is so craving to make space for whatever's coming in the next cycle. With that in mind, let's talk diet and exercise in your luteal phase. You'll want to opt for complex carbohydrates and foods that are easier to absorb in terms of the micronutrients. So the way that you cook food is going to differ from your ovulatory phase, where you're working mostly with raw foods. Now we're starting to cook foods down again. You're naturally going to crave some heartier foods like potatoes and root veggies. Your body is going to start to need more calories again, up to 8 to 15% more calories. The good news is that even though your caloric intake increases, your body's ability to naturally burn these calories also increases. So follow the craving. If you are craving heavier foods or more complex carbohydrates during this time, go for the potato, go for the heartier meal. That's exactly what is called for in the luteal phase. You can think about rich proteins and carbohydrates like beans, grains, and root vegetables. And I want to note that your luteal phase is typically not the best time to fast or to do any sort of crash diet, because it can really throw off your metabolism. Your body's working really hard to prepare for pregnancy because it doesn't yet know that your egg isn't fertilized. This is partly why you are more efficiently burning calories. And it's also why your cortisol levels are naturally high. So high stress work environments or high stress workouts can trigger fat storage in the body. This is a natural response to high stress because the body doesn't know that it's safe. It may want to store fat because it doesn't know what's coming. So your body's doing exactly what it was designed to do. But again, those crash diets or fasting during this time, those really hard workouts during this time could actually lead to weight gain. And we see this a lot in women. Pushing through anyway or going forward with that fast in the luteal phase can also impact when your period comes. I know for me personally, when I have fasted during this time, I've actually pulled my period sooner in the cycle, and I've sort of changed the whole rhythm of my cycle. When it comes to exercise in your luteal phase, because your metabolism is faster and you're more naturally burning calories, you don't actually need as high of intensity workouts to get the same results, which is great because as the luteal phase goes on, you're going to start to naturally get more tired and have less energy for those high intensity workouts. So this is a great time to focus on building muscle, which your body is more efficient at during this time, doing Pilates or yoga, really working on your flexibility and building that lean muscle. You can see a lot of results with strength training during this time, but don't be afraid to honor what your body is asking for and move a little slower. Hold that yoga pose a little bit longer, take a deeper breath. You're coasting back into rest phase. And when you do, you want to really honor that rest. Skip the cardio workout. Menstrual phase workouts look more like taking a 30-minute walk or doing restorative yoga or yin yoga. You may crave more sleep or need a nap during the menstrual phase. And that's okay. That's natural because you're back in your winter season. It's a time to get cozy on the couch, snuggle up under that blanket, stay warm, and do the whole thing over again. Through cycle syncing, you can start to build some amazing momentum in your health, in your relationships, and in your work. Now, I recognize that this might be a lot of information for one video, but I've put all of this and more into the comprehensive how-to guides that I've been building on this very topic. So in the notes, I'm going to put links to the beginner's guide to cycle syncing, which covers the fundamentals and what the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle are. I also have guides for cyclical eating, cyclical exercise, and cyclical work habits that are really geared towards those of you who are entrepreneurs or business owners who are wanting to sync your work habits with how you run and grow your company. All of that below, along with a link to my cycle syncing website that has even more resources for you. Please leave any questions that you have about any of this in the comments. That will help me know which videos to make next. And I do really hope to see you commenting on future videos, hopping on my newsletter where I'm sharing all of this information and more, and maybe even in my online WhatsApp course, which is basically a women's circle where over the course of 4 weeks through a WhatsApp group with a couple different video calls to kick off the journey and end the journey, we are going through week by week, stacking the different practices of cycle syncing from food to exercise to relationships to work. And by the end of those 4 weeks, you'll have gone through this journey alongside other women who are learning how to do this too. And within that first 1, 2, 3 months of cycle syncing, hopefully you'll start to see some real results. Again, most women do in the first 1 to 6 months. And if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, there's a whole subset of cycle syncing practices available to you to support how you run and grow your business. And while I have sort of accidentally become an expert in cycle syncing because of my own obsession with this, because of how much it has helped me heal burnout and heal my body and all of my relationships to other people and to work, I mean, that is all great. But I also, with my background in entrepreneurship, helping business owners, educating executives, this is really my sweet spot. And if you want to go on that journey or find out more, you can head to NicoleBelisle.com, where you'll find even more resources for business owners who want to leverage cycle syncing to step into a more regenerative way of doing business. I could geek out on this for days, and I do. And I am so grateful that you are here with me geeking out on this. Again, let me know what questions you have. Next up, I do want to get into some of the common unknowns and the common myths that I wish we all learned in sex ed, because some of these are really mind-blowing.